Hey! This is Kuya Jay, and welcome to the latest episode of Pera and Purpose Podcast, a show about money and meaning. My aim is to use money as a tool to live a meaningful life. And yes, bago natin simulan ang ating episode, i-share nyo muna ninyo ito sa inyong KKK, o yung kaibigan, kamag-anak, kapatid, kaway, kupisina, kachismisan na takay mo, i-share mo ito sa kanila kasi I'm sure if you've been listening to the podcast for quite some time now, nabago na ito ang inyong mindset about money and purposeful living. And announcement ko ulit na meron na tayong Patreon community para doon tayo mag-engage and mag-interact kasi nga ang Facebook sa akin hindi na ako makapag-focus. Pag i-open ko yung app, lagi akong napupunta sa kung saan-saan. And if you also want to support ang ating advocacy on financial literacy, then pwede nyo rin siyang gawin through our Patreon community. And since I've been doing financial coaching and itong advocacy na rin natin for financial literacy, it's been going for quite some time now, mga 7 to 8, baka nga 9 years na yun. And na-realize ko na ang dami ko pa rin kailangan matutunan. And nakakatuwa dahil sa tuwing gumagawa ko ng episode, ang dami ko talagang natututunan. And yung mga perspective ko about life and money is somewhat challenged and also allows me na magkaroon ng panibagong perspective sa mga iba't ibang angles, lalong-lalo na sa poverty. And itong pag-usapan natin ngayon is really about yung isa sa pinaka-common na thinking na akala natin pag isang tao is mahirap, wala na masyadong problema kasi konti lang naman yung gastusin niya right? Pero alam natin na ang hirap maging mahirap, di ba? And ang mas masakit nito is mas mahal pa ang mga gastos kapag mahirap ka. Ang ironic, di ba? The less money you have, the more expensive life becomes. And it sounds counterintuitive, pero ito yung harsh reality for many Filipinos and other people who are also struggling sa finances. Yung mga mahirap nga or yung talagang kapos sa finances. And yung mga everyday expenses nila like healthcare, housing, transportation, and even yung food cost is mas mahal pa for those who are struggling. And ang worst part, itong cost na trap na tinatawag natin na to is nagiging cycle of poverty. And according to studies, people living in poverty face what is known as the poverty penalty. Na hindi lang sa Pilipinas nangyari, kundi pati na rin sa ibang mga developing countries. And the limited resources and options available to them lead to higher costs and fewer opportunities to escape yung kanilang mga financial struggles. Kaya ang episode natin today, we will do a deep dive into why it costs more to be poor, lalo na sa Philippines. From direct and systemic costs to hidden barriers and how we can start addressing these issues, both as a society and also individually. So, ito na, simulan natin. Sa Pilipinas, ang pagiging mahirap ay madalas mas magastos dahil nga limited ang kanilang mga options. Andito na yung sa healthcare wherein yung cost of treatment talagang mas malaki. Bakit? Bakit Kuya Jay? Bakit ganun? Kasi ang low-income Filipinos nakakaharap nitong catastrophic na healthcare costs. Lalong-lalo na sa mga disease tulad ng sa drug-resistant tuberculosis which will require long and expensive treatments. Isa lang yun, okay? And meron din silang mga limited insurance coverage na pag meron kang kakulangan neto, yung pamilya mo or sino man nakakilala mo mas vulnerable sa mga financial ruins. Alam naman natin na ang mga medical bills ang isa sa pinaka malaking reasons kung bakit maraming mga tao ang nilulubog sa utang. And isa pa doon sa healthcare is yung impact ng food insecurity sa Pilipinas. Yung poor nutrition weakens immune systems. Alam naman natin yan. And it increases the susceptibility to illnesses and further straining yung healthcare resources. And dahil nga hindi nila afford yung mga mas healthy na pagkain, yung kanilang kinakain na junk food, yun lang kanilang mabili, then it would lead to more serious illnesses in the future and mas mapapagas sila sa kanilang healthcare. Sumunod is yung housing. Yung mga may hirap sa atin are living in informal settlements. Yung mga nagbalak or nagtry na makipagsapalaran sa Maynila and hindi sila familiar dun sa setting doon, and since di nga nila afford na magkaroon ng maayos na bahay, then yung iba is nagfo-force na mag-squat, yun yung term sa atin, sa mga bakanting lote sa city. And hindi nila ma-afford yung rent, hindi nila ma-afford yung utility and other maintenance cost na kasama sa bahay, or at least mag-rent man lang. And yun nga, isa sa mga issues dito is yung affordability. Dahil merong lack of affordable housing sa Pilipinas. And it forces families to spend a disproportionate amount of their income sa rent and mortgage. And alam naman natin siguro, di ba, lately na ang ang pagtaas ng income sa Pilipinas is hindi sumasabay sa pagtaas ng cost of living, lalong-lalo na ang housing. Parang may nabasa nga ako na ang average na income sa Metro Manila is sa 18,000. And then ang rent or ang cost of living to live comfortably is around 50,000 per month. So ang layo ng gap talaga pagdating sa mga ganitong klase ng mga gastusin. Sumunod is yung transportation. Dahil merong inadequate na public transport systems sa atin, and it forces poor people to rely on expensive and unreliable options. Kaya affected din ang kanilang attendance sa trabaho, affected din ang kanilang mga access sa ilang mga services na kailangan nila on a daily basis. And huling-huli na dito is yung education. Dahil nga mataas ang cost of education, hindi nila afford na magpadala ng kanilang anak sa isang maayos na school, bumili ng books, and babalik tayo sa transportation. Malayo usually ang kanilang school sa kanilang tintirhan, and it will cost more for them para mag-send ng kanilang mga anak sa school. And education is actually one of the important things can lead for a better life sa bawat individual. So dahil nga walang masyadong education, hindi edukado yung isang tao, then it makes them or it gives them less opportunities para kumita ng mas malaking pera. And again, nandun na naman, natatrap na naman sila sa cycle ng poverty. And ang mga solutions na ginagawa karaniwan ng mga tao who are in that situation, yung mga considered as poor, is bumibili sila. Hindi nila kaya bumili ng bulk kasi alam natin na pag bulk ang binibili mo, mas nakakatipid ka. Kaya lang, since yung finances mo are short, kapos ka, and ang kaya mo lang talagang bilhin is yung mga tingi culture sa atin. Kaya merong mga ganito sa mga rural areas or siguro sa mga malilit na barangay, and sa amin din, may sari-sari store kami. Nung high school ako, yun yung isa sa mga bumubuhay sa amin. And naging uso nga ang mga ganito kasi hindi lahat ng Filipinos ay kayang bumili ng bultuhan. Isipin mo, yung sachet siguro ngayon is nasa 6 to 10 pesos. Tama pa yung pagkakatanda ko sa presyo niyan. And samantalang kung bumili ka ng 10 niyan, nakabili ka na ng siguro ng isang bote na alam mong mas tatagal pa kaysa bumili ka ng patingi-tingi. And since you are kapos sa iyong finances, then talagang you're only forced to buy itong mga small portions na ito. And another solution na ginagawa ng mga tao who are considered poor is bumibili sila ng mga cheap but low quality products. So, kumpara sa mga tao na kayang bumili ng mas mahal na products, pero tumatagal in the long term. And hindi lang ito about sa kunyari bumili ka ng sapatos na kung parang naalala ko to nung high school ako, bumili ako nung Japex na Adidas. So tontuwa ako. Yung Kobe pa yon na naka-Kobe ako. Kaya lang, since nga siya, class A, hindi siya tumagal ng isang taon. So nangyari, napabili na naman uli ako. So mas napamahal uli ako kasi nga hindi ko mabili yung original na sapatos. So yun yung isa sa mga reasons or isa sa mga solutions na ginagawa ng mga Pilipino who are considered as poor. And hindi lang to sa mga sapatos, it also applies sa ibang goods tulad na banggit natin kanina pagdating sa healthcare, education, and even yung transportation. And sumunod is itong mga 5-6 loans. Dahil nga hindi sila qualified para mag-open ng bank, hindi nila ma-maintain. Kasi kung mag-open man sila, tapos below the maintaining balance yung kanilang account, na-charge pa sila ng maintenance fee. So, yan yung kaya ang nangyari is kumakapit sila sa 5-6 na minsan ang interest is umabot ng 20% per month. Okay? So, grabe, ang taas nun. Kaya lang, wala nga silang choice. Yung iba naman, na ngayon, kasi medyo advanced na, right? Meron ng BNPL or yung Buy Now, Pay Later programs na nakakatulong sa kanila for the short term kasi kung hindi nila afford yung isang buong item, then kung may Buy Now, Pay Later, walang interest for, let's say, 3 or 4 installments. Unfortunately, ang pagka lumampas ka or pagka hindi mo nabayaran ang iyong interest or ang iyong, hindi interest but yung buong amount nung item na binili mo, doon ka mayayari. Minsan ang interest nila is sa 2.5 to 5% monthly. Tapos meron pang mga extra fees na dapat aware ka pagdating sa Buy Now, Pay Later. And meron nga mga studies, hindi sa Pinas but sa US, na yung mga tao na nagsibagbilihan gamit ang BNPL, mas lalo pang napagastos. And na-stress kasi nga hindi naman nila kailangan pero they thought na kailangan nilang bilhin. Nagkaroon sila ng mga gamit na talagang napabili lang on impulse. Mayroon tayong episode about Buy Now, Pay Later. I think ang episode title is Gift Now, Pay Later kasi common yan sa mga Filipinos right now na nagpe-prepare na for holiday season. And itong mga ganitong klase ng circumstances have hidden costs. Okay? Number 1 is yung debt cycles. Yung mga taong nandito sa sitwasyon na to are stuck in that cycle or endless cycle of debt. Dahil nga nagre-rely sila sa mga high interest loans para lang i-cover yung kanilang mga basic needs. Natatrap sila dito sa ganitong klase ng cycle. And hindi lang actually pera nawawala sa kanila eh. Meron din silang tinatawag na time poverty. Kasi dahil nga kulang sila ng resources to afford yung mga basic tasks, kunyari mag-laundry or mag-hire ng someone to help them sa pag-aalaga ng kanilang anak, or dahil nga din nila afford bumili ng sasakyan, tumatagal yung kanilang biyahe, tumatagal yung kanilang oras paggawa, tumatagal ang kanilang task. And yung mga nagsasacrifice dito is yung relationship nila or yung sobrang oras na yun na stuck sa traffic or ginagawa yung mga ganitong bagay is dapat nagagamit mo na sana para i-enhance ang inyong skill sets. And dahil nga kapos sila, they couldn't afford na mag-hire ng ibang tao to help them out. And again, andun na naman, na-trap ulit sila. Babalik sila ulit sa cycle. And dahil nga patong-patong ang stress sa kanilang buhay, nagkakaroon din ng decision fatigue. Okay? Yan yung isa pa sa mga hidden costs. And yung mga constant financial pressures and yung mental burden of navigating poverty can really lead dito sa decision fatigue na tinatawag natin. And it can result to poor financial choices such as, babalik na naman tayo. Diba? Kakapit ka naman sa 5-6 or sa Buy Now, Pay Later, and lalo na lang lalala ang iyong situation. And I think ito yung pinaka-worst na hidden cost ng poverty, ano. And yung mga pagka sobrang hindi talaga nila afford na makaalis sa kanilang situation is yung tinatawag na intergenerational poverty. Dahil nga limited yung access sa education coupled with some inequalities makes it difficult for children na pinanganak na mahirap na makaalis. And dahil nga dyan, yun na yung naiipasa din nila sa kanilang mga susunod na henerasyon. Kaya lang, meron akong gusto ding i-debunk dito. Ako rin, I'm guilty rin ako in the past na I thought, kung mahirap ka, edi try mo lang magtipid, di ba? Simple lang, basic lang naman ng pera eh. Ganun lang naman yan. Yun yung iniisip ko. Kaya lang, eventually as I was reading yung mga books about wealth, books about success, and I realized na hindi lang pala siya about, or yung poverty is not just about making poor choices. Diba? Imaginein mo, hindi ka marunong lumangoy, tapos tinapong ka sa dagat nang walang salbabita, nang walang skill para lumangoy. Sa tingin mo ba, magsusurvive ka? Hindi, di ba? Lulubog ka rin. And ganyan yung nagiging situation nung karamihan ng mga taong may hirap na lumaki na sa hirap. And hindi siya ganun kasimple. So, yung mga Filipinos nga, na like what I said kanina, na walang access sa isang maayos na education, hindi nila alam kung ano yung options nila. And yung iba pa nga, wala talagang choice kundi mag-resort sa mga predatory loans like what we mentioned kanina para lang maggumastos sa kanilang emergencies. And I think isa sa mga reasons kung bakit may mga ganitong situation is because, number one, lack of financial education. Hindi rin naman karamihan sa mga Filipinos ngayon na nasa poverty area nagkakaroon ng access. Kahit sabihin na may internet hindi pa rin lahat kaya pa rin gumastos sa internet, 'di ba? And dahil yung society nila is hindi talaga laging nagkakaroon ng opportunity na mag-aral about money, then hindi talaga nila naintindihan 'yun. So, una pa lang, hindi na nila alam kung paano talaga mag-handle ng pera. Sumunod is about, kaya nagkakaroon ng gantong situation is because of desperation na rin. Kasi kapag gipit ka, wala kang choice kundi umutang kahit mataas ang interest. And hindi ito makukonsider na poor decision making. This is what you call a survival strategy kasi nga wala ka na talagang choice Nandun ka na sa situation na yun. And dahil sa tingin mo, yun lang talaga yung options mo kasi nga wala ka naman the idea about personal finance, then you'd really think na that's the only way to get by. Yung umutang and then magbayad ng utang and then umutang uli para bayaran yung huli mong utang, I think nagiging survival strategy siya para sa mga tao who are in this situation. And last reason kung bakit I think meron talaga gusto kong i-debunk itong poor choices myth na to is because hindi naman talaga lahat ng tao ay pinanganak na mayaman. It's what we call yung bad luck, ika nga, no? Meron pa ring mga bagay na beyond sa iyong control. And babalikan ko yung book ni Malcolm Gladwell na Outliers. Yung story doon ni Bill Gates, na alam naman natin na siya yung isa sa pinakamayamang tao sa buong mundo, is isa sa mga reasons bakit siya naging successful is because pinanganak siya sa mayaman na pamilya. And hindi lang yun, okay? Dahil nga, pamilya nila may kaya siyang pag-aralin and naka-attend siya nitong lakeside school dun sa kanilang lugar, and it's one of the first schools sa US na merong computer terminal. Yun yung mga panahon na hindi pag ganun karami yung mga tao na mayroong access sa computer, and ito nandun pa lang to sa school nila Bill Gates. And itong early access ni Bill Gates sa technology na yon partnered with the wealth na meron yung kanilang parents, allowed him to start programming at a young age, giving him opportunities and skills that many of his peers didn't have. Kaya talagang bata pa lang na-position na si Bill Gates na maging successful sa tech industry. Okay, kasi nga may kasamang swerte and may kasama rin syempre na skills na na-build si Bill Gates during those times. Pero hindi natin pwedeng alisin yung part na talagang pinanganak si Bill Gates sa mayaman na pamilya. Pero I'm not saying na yun lang yun, okay? It's a combination of so many things para maging successful. Pero yun nga, kailangan magkaroon ng opportunity ang isang tao para magkaroon siya ng chance na mag-succeed sa buhay. So, yun nga, kaya hindi natin pwede sabihin na sa isang taong mahirap na ayusin mo lang yung decisions mo, ayusin mo lang yung financial choices mo. Hindi siya ganun ka straightforward Ang daming mga bagay na kailangan mo pa talagang intindihin. And ito nga, habang ginagawa ko tong episode na to, mas naging empathetic ako sa mga nandun sa situation na yun, na ako hindi ko na-experience yun. And si Mrs., pag nag-uusap kami, sinasabi niya talaga, laki sila sa hirap. And hindi sila, may mga moments hindi sila nakakain, yung wala silang maayos na bahay, and talagang nagsikap lang din sila. And later on, i-share ko rin kung ano yung pwede natin gawin kung sakali na nandun napunta tayo or ikaw ay nakikinig and you think na you are in the poverty line, then there are still ways para makaahon sa hirap. So, balik tayo sa topic. Bakit nga ba mas mahal ang buhay para sa mga mahihirap? Well, I think isa pinaka-main reasons is because meron tayong mga systemic issues. Ang systemic issues are yung problems that are built into the way our society or yung government systems work, making it harder for people to succeed or escape inequality. Kaya forced silang gumawa ng mga mas magastos na choices kasi the system was designed that way. There are really disadvantage dito sa spectrum ng society na to. Doon sila sa pinaka worst part and talagang mahirap. So, isa sa mga systemic issues is yung geographic inequality. Kung nakatira ka sa isang malayong lugar, mas mataas ang gastos mo para makakuha ng basic services. Kailangan mong bumiyahe ng malayo para lang magtrabaho, mag-aral at magpa-check up. So, kasi nga, yung mga rural area sa atin, hindi pa rin naabot ng ilang mga other services. Kaya many of those na nandun sa lugar na yun are really struggling financially. Second is yung education gap. May mga taong lumaki sa hirap na walang access sa magandang education, kaya hirap sila makakuha ng trabaho na mas mataas ang sahod like what I said kanina. And then third is wala silang access sa affordable na financial services. Ang Philippine financial services industry has historically been characterized by high costs and limited access for underserved populations. And there's this study in 2015 na yung financial inclusion is critical for empowering the poor to manage their finances effectively and reduce their vulnerability to financial distress. Kaya maraming mga low-income individuals face these barriers to access yung formal financial services, which can lead, ito na ulit, babalik tayo dun sa reliance nila on high-interest loans from formal lenders. Although ngayon naman, nakakatuwa dahil nagkaroon naman na ng improvement ang financial inclusion sa Pilipinas. If tama yung pagkakatanda ko, there's already like 65 to 70% of Filipinos have bank accounts. So malaki na ito kumpara dati. Kaya lang may isa pa akong gustong i-highlight dito sa systemic issues ng financial services sa Pilipinas. No? Maraming mga insurance companies ang nagfo-focus sa pagbebenta ng VUL products. Kasi nga malaki yung commission doon. Okay? And often at the expense of simpler and more affordable options like term insurance. Kaya may theory ako na isa sa mga reasons kung bakit akala ng mga Filipinos mahal makakuha ng insurance is because ang mga pinopromote lang kadalasan is itong mga merong mga high commission na types of products. Hindi nila pinopromote yung mga micro-insurance, term life, and other types of insurances na pwede sa kahit na anong income level. And I would understand, galing ako sa industry and alam ko kung gaano kaliit ang commission pag nagbenta ng term life. Kaya it's how the system is designed. I think hindi lang to sa Pilipinas. The entire financial service industry has been designed this way. Kung babalikan ninyo yung episode namin ni Aya Laraya, we've tackled this a bit on how the financial services is systematically designed para i-compensate yung mga tao who are really good at selling. And unfortunately, ang mga nagsuffer sa ganitong klase ng sistema is yung mga taong hindi afford yung mga products na binibenta sa kanila. And kahit tight na yung budget nila, they thought na yun lang talaga yung option sa kanila. Mga ganitong klase ng insurance with investment components. Pero I think sa Philippines ngayon, ang dami na nakaka-discover how bad their decision was by getting a VUL. And nakita nila yung kung gaano karami pa rin yung mga insurance agents na nagbebenta nito as an investment product, which is hindi talaga tama. So, yun lang yung isa kong mini rant sa episode na to. And isa pang special mention dito kung bakit talaga mas mahal para sa mga taong mahirap ang pagiging mahirap or ang mga gastusin for them. It's because mayroon pa ring inflation. Okay? Inflation impacts those with lower incomes kasi nga as they spend a larger portion of their earnings on essential goods and public transportation. And walang dinidiscriminate ang inflation, okay? Regardless kung mayaman ka o mahirap ka, nandyan siya. Pero if you have enough resources, kaya mong labanan si inflation. Kaya lang, talagang if wala kang resources and wala kang opportunities para palakihin ang iyong income, then walay. Nga. Meron nga dito, no, merong isang report ang NEDA or National Economic and Development Authority na noong 2013, may article na nabasa na. An estimated of over 7 million Filipinos could have been lifted out of poverty if inflation had remained within the government's target over the past 2 years. Grabe, no? And noong 11 months ng 2023, ang average inflation ng Pilipinas was 6.9. And the good thing naman today, as I'm recording this episode, it's at 3.3. So bumaba na siya. Pero alam niyo na yung impact ng inflation talagang mararamdaman. Lalong-lalo na ng mga taong kapos sa pera. So, yun. May magandang quote ako nakita dito habang nire-research ko itong topic na to. This is from Barbara Ehrenreich. Isa siyang activist and also an author. Meron siyang book na sumikat. I forgot the title pero if you search her name, makikita niyo yung kanyang book. And may quote siya doon na sabi niya is, "Poverty is not a character flaw. It's a shortage of money." Wow. Hindi mo yung kasalanan bilang tao. Dahil hindi siya about you. It's about lack of money. And kailangan nating maintindihan na hindi personal failure ang kahirapan. And may mas malalim na sistema na nagpapalala nito. Okay? So, ganun siya. Pero, ito gusto ko sabihin, no? Meron pa rin pag-asa. Hindi lahat ng mga bagay sa mundo, talagang ganun na lang. Parang, may magandang quote si Les Brown. May magandang quote si Les Brown na palagi kong natatandaan and talaga nakatulong sa akin nung talagang down na ako sa buhay. Sinabi niya doon na yung your current situation is not your final destination. So kung ano man yung situation mo ngayon, kung isa kang tao na lubog sa utang or nag-struggle ka financially, you're part of the people who's considered na poor, I can say na meron pa ring hope. Kung napapakinggan mo to, din ibig sabihin buhay ka. Diba? And that's enough motivation for you to do something for your life. So, meron pa ring pwedeng gawin. And I think there are two things that we can do here. Yung solution, first is yung systemic rather. And then meron din na pwedeng gawin on an individual level. So gusto ko muna unahin yung pag-solve ng systemic issues natin. And meron isang magandang example dito na ginawa si Professor Muhammad Yunus, na isang Bangladeshi social entrepreneur, economist, and the founder of Grameen Bank sa Bangladesh. Ito yung institution that pioneered the concept of microcredit and microfinance. Mas nakilala siya for his work in empowering poor individuals, lalong-lalo na yung mga kababaihan, by giving them access to small loans without requiring collateral. His initiatives have helped millions of people escape poverty by providing them with the financial tools to start small businesses. And dahil sa effort niya na yun, si Professor Yunus and yung Grameen Bank na tinayo niya were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize noong 2006. So, kaya talagang solusyonan nito if we do it right. So, unang-una to address unang-una sa mga systemic solutions that I've listed here is magkaroon ng mga social protection programs. Programs like, meron na sa Pilipinas yung tinatawag na 4Ps or yung Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, which provides assistance or financial assistance to low-income households, reducing economic vulnerability. And studies show that itong mga programs na to improve the living conditions and can also reduce poverty. Sumunod is yung mga microfinance programs like yung minention na naging program ni Professor Yunus, no? And companies like Card MRI sa Pilipinas, yung MRI stands for Mutually Reinforcing Institutions. So itong Card MRI is an institution na similar yung goal nung kay Professor Yunus. And they've been offering financial services to poor households and helping them avoid high-interest lending traps. Sumunod is yung healthcare access. Kasi if you expand yung access to affordable healthcare, then it can, for sure, help in alleviating poverty. Studies highlight that better healthcare services lower the financial burden on poor households. Next is yung agricultural development and food security. Government policies that support agricultural productivity and food security help reduce poverty sa mga rural areas. And research have shown that agricultural reform increases income and reduces poverty sa mga farming communities. And alam naman natin na agriculture ang isa sa pinaka-top na strength ng ating bansa. Although lately talagang nag-struggle itong industry na to, probably because of lack of support and funding. Kaya lang, if we tap on our strengths, then makakatulong pa rin ito to alleviate yung poverty sa ating bansa. Fifth is itong policy reforms for inclusive growth. Yung mga pro-poor policies focused on job creation, fair wages, and access to service are essential for reducing systemic poverty. Studies have emphasized that these reforms create opportunities for the poor and promote economic growth. And then sixth is itong financial literacy and inclusion. If you enhance yung financial literacy, alam na natin ito, no? If you enhance financial literacy sa isang tao, it will enable individuals to better manage their finances and make informed decisions. And may study na nagbaback up netong claim na to, na higher financial literacy is linked to greater financial inclusion, helping reduce poverty by empowering individuals to access and use financial services effectively. And lastly is itong access sa digital banking, which is good dahil dumadami na siya ngayon sa Pilipinas. And yung pag-expand ng digital banking services makes financial tools more accessible sa mga underserved populations, particularly sa rural areas. And another study that I've seen is that in-highlight nito yung greater digital banking access significantly reduces yung financial exclusion and it allows yung mga tao na kapos sa pera. So ano yung mga solutions that we can do sa individual level para masolusyonan itong problema na ito? First is to build resilience and stay healthy. Talagang nilagay ko itong stay healthy na to, no? So ito yung pinakauna kasi ikaw yung dapat na una mong alagaan eh. Dahil developing a positive mindset and maintaining good health helps individuals manage stress and reduce long-term costs. There's this 2019 study that I've seen na emphasizing on resilience in handling poverty show that staying healthy cuts down future medical expenses. Alam natin yun, right? And if you are healthy, if nag-exercise ka, you have at least I would believe na yung iyong mental health is also okay, then it will help you make better decisions. So, yan yung una. And then second is you have to get educated. And also, educated sa iyong technical skills as an individual and also yung financial literacy skills. Dahil yung education, skill development, and financial literacy are powerful tools para makaalis sa poverty. And when you learn new things, new skills, nagkikreate ito sa'yo ng job opportunities while yung pagmamanage mo ng pera allows you to manage that earning well compared sa mga tao na walang idea about personal finance. And ito very recent na article this year ng Credit Perception Index or CPI survey. And merong study nitong year lang na to by TransUnion. They named it itong Credit Perception Index or CPI survey. They found that 46% of unbanked Filipinos did not understand the concept of legitimate credit. Kaya marami pa rin, lalo yung mga mahirap, ang nai-scam ng mga predatory lenders. Kaya dapat talaga meron tayong financial literacy sa ating bayan para alam nila na yung pinapasok nilang transaction is something na fair ba or predatory. Next is to network, find mentors, and join communities. Dahil pag nagkaroon ka na ng skills and ng knowledge, then it's time for you to grow your network as well. Kasi lagi to sasabihin, your network is your net worth. And kung wala kang taong mapagkakatiwalaan sa circle mo, then it's time for you to find other people to guide you and mentor you. Meron pa rin mga communities that will help yung mga tao who are in poverty pero have the willingness to get out of their situation. And building professional connections and seeking mentors and joining itong mga local groups that will provide support or sometimes resources then can give you better job opportunities na rin. And there's a 2023 study na yung networking, hindi MLM na networking yung pag-reach out mo sa mga ibang tao to expand yung iyong connections and yung collective actions na binibigay ng inyong community can foster economic success and resilience. And lastly, na I think na magandang solution sa kahirapan is to start a small business or engage in entrepreneurship. Now, hindi lahat, I'm sure hindi naman lahat gustong maging entrepreneur kasi talagang mahirap siyang gawin. Pero ang pagkakaroon ng income through self-employment or a small business actually allows you to learn multiple skills, which we've discussed early on, di ba? It will also make you grow your network kasi you'd really have to reach out to grow your business. You cannot do it alone, di ba? And lastly, it is yung entrepreneurship helps you build resilience, which can lead to financial independence. And a 2019 study that I've seen highlights that the role of entrepreneurship and access to microfinance in helping individuals improve their financial situation. So, dahil nga meron naman nag-offer ng mga microfinance, then why not use it to build a small business? You have to start small, di ba? And the good thing with learning to start a business or entrepreneurship is madami kang na-build talaga na skills. Promise, ang entrepreneurship naman is not one skill It's a multifaceted activity and gawan ng paraan for dapat matuto kang mag-market, mag-sales, makipag-usap sa tao. So those are things na learnable. Hindi naman dahil sa tingin mo hindi ka marunong magbenta means ganyan ka na Di ba? Naaaral yan. And I don't think na there are people who are born as entrepreneurs. Probably meron silang characteristics like resilience or pwedeng grit, meron sila nun. Pero there are skills na kaya mo pa rin matutunan. Okay? And ang pinakahuling solusyon dito is mag-asawa ka ng mayaman. Joke lang. So, I think yun yung mga solutions that you can actually do if you are in that situation. Talagang struggling ka financially and you are part of those sa poverty line. So, recap ko lang ng dami nga nasabi dito sa episode na to. Grabe naman. So, some of the things that I've discussed. Number one is ang mga mahihirap sa Pilipinas ay gumagastos ng mas malaki dahil nga limited ang kanilang options and dahil na rin sa mga systemic inequalities. Number two, hindi dapat isisi sa personal choices ang kahirapan. Okay? Dahil napakaraming reasons kung bakit merong taong mahihirap. And hindi lang ito because of their poor financial choices. Okay? So, tandaan natin yan. And may mga solusyon na both for a systemic level and pati na rin sa individual levels na pwede nating gawin, pwede nating isuggest kung if you are a person na merong influence, di ba? Pwede mong isuggest siguro yun sa inyong organization or ikaw mismo, you want to help others, then i-try mo muna sa'yo and then once it works, hindi if, it's not a question of if but when, then once na mag-succeed ka, then make sure na tulungan mo rin ibang tao. You have to pay it forward. Okay? And another key takeaway dito sa episode is that ang poverty is a societal problem. Hindi lang ito individual struggle. Kung magtutulungan tayo bilang isang bansa, we can create a more equitable society where everyone gets a fair chance. Ito nga, gusto ko ring sabihin na if you are in that situation, consider it as a blessing. No? Sa mga nakausap ko na nag-succeed dito sa UAE, yung mga taong yung mga kaibigan ko na nakapag-start ng sarili nilang negosyo, malalim talaga. Galing sila sa poverty. May isa akong kaibigan. Hopefully, I can invite him sa podcast. Na-experience niyang hindi kumain for 2 days. And talagang legit, hindi siya kumakain. And sabi niya nga sa akin, yun yung hindi ko makakalimutan na season ng buhay ko. Kaya ginusto ko talaga magpursige. And I remember attending itong isang lecture ba or isang sermon ng isang pastor dito sa UAE. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. Nabanggit niya yung ABC. ABC means adversities build character. And poverty is just one of your adversities na kakaharapin sa buhay. And kaya nga sinabi ko, babalikan ko na i-consider it as a blessing kasi nga itong mga tough times na to actually make tough people. And I know you're a tough person. So, kaya mo yan. Okay? Kung may mga taong nakaahon sa poverty, then magagawa mo rin. Dahil, like ko sabihin, success leaves clues. Meron at merong way para makaalis ka sa kung anong sitwasyon mo right now. And ang quote na gusto kong iwan for this episode is itong, it's not about the cards you're dealt, but how you play the hand. Ito yung quote ni Randy Pausch. Paano ba basahin yun? Randy Pausch. Yeah, so, yon. And ang Bible verse natin for this episode, gusto ko lang ding i-share ito, is yung Proverbs 13 verse 11, which says, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. So, alam ko, when you are struggling financially, bakit ito pinili ko, no? Kasi nga, I understand that when a person is struggling financially and talagang naubusan na siya ng options, you can be tempted na gumawa ng mga dishonest ways to earn. And I'm sure na you can be there will be seasons that you'll be desperate, pero I hope na hindi ito maging reason para maging dishonest when it comes to making money. So, ang pagbabago naman kasi sa buhay is hindi naman yan mabilisan. Okay? Pero sa tamang diskarte or sa tamang approach, kahit slowly or paunti-unti, kaya mo pa rin umangat sa iyong sitwasyon nang hindi nagiging dishonest with money or nang bubudol na ibang tao. Kasi may mga taong mahirap na talagang nang-scam eh. And kaya ako to nilagay dito, it's because it just wanna serve as a reminder na regardless of your situation, any dishonest money that you earn will dwindle away from you. Regardless yan kung mahirap ka o mayaman. Yon. And that wraps our episode for today. But before I let you go, I hope you can listen to the episodes of Pera and Purpose Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to learn more about the other ways on how you can be better with money, i-check nyo itong episode that I'll be linking dito sa description section ng ating episode. If you want to learn how you can save more and make more money, or you also learn yung mga skills that you can use to help you grow your income, then ilalagay ko yan dito sa description ng ating episode. And if you want to have a coaching session with Kuya Jay, message nyo lang ako sa LinkedIn or send me an email or i-message nyo ako directly dun sa ating community, sa ating Patreon community to be very specific. Alright, muli, ito si Kuya Jay, telling you to prosper with a purpose. See you sa next episode. Bye-bye!